Hi, Rich Gimber, the Civil War Traveler here today, and I have the privilege of interviewing Brian DesRochers of Park Ranger at Blakeley State Park. And Brian is personally undertaking the effort to restore Fort Blakeley to its former glory. Brian, how are you today?
I'm excellent. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for your time today, and could you please tell us a little bit about the restoration efforts going under here at Fort Blakeley?
Sure. We're standing in what's known as the lunette section of Redoubt number 4 at the park. The lunette, by definition, is a fortification with more than 2 flanks. You have this one, that one, and the one to the rear, more than 2 flanks. The redan on the other side that we walk through, the redan is 2 flanks. Basically, it's an earth and wooden fortification, and to the best we can find as far as research is concerned, this is what it looked like. We have engineer drawings showing your cross section of the parapet, which I interpret to be the curtain trench in between the redoubts, and it shows logs, not wooden planks, logs. But in this, they had more time to build these. It wasn't as hastily built as your curtain trench, that connects your redoubts, and that's what I think they were bringing lumber over from Mobile, and they had time to do these. They started this in September of 1864, after the Battle of Mobile Bay, and by the time the siege commences in April of 1865. This is probably what you would have been looking at.
Okay. How long have you been associated with Fort Blakeley, and how long have you had this passion for history?
I got involved in living history when I was 12 years old. I've been coming here since I was about 11. My father brought me over here to watch a reenactment. Coincidentally, watching some of my closest friends, I didn't know it at the time, but the guys that I was watching would become some of my closest friends. Got involved in it not long after that. Was doing events here, helping the park out, and then got a phone call to become a ranger, and I didn't turn down the opportunity. So it's been an integral part of my life, actually, Civil War history in general, and not to mention Fort Blakeley itself. Living in Mobile, it's right in my backyard.
Right. So what do you find so fascinating about the Mobile campaign or the Battle of Mobile Bay? What particularly sparked your interest?
I would say initially what sparked my interest is that it's forgotten for the most part. It's very obscure when you compare the Atlanta campaign or the Vicksburg siege or Gettysburg or any of that stuff in the East. Unless you have this quirky kind of desire to find out about it, you're not going to hear about it. And here lately, there's been a lot of research and knowledge shared. Not only among living historians and amateur historians, but just people in general, because they're seeing all this stuff for the first time. You're familiar with Paul's page.
Yes.
That's a very good example of that. It's like this stuff has kind of been on the shelf, and now people are bringing it to the forefront, and it's just really cool to see that, because for years you never heard anything about it unless you either lived here or knew somebody that did or something of that sort.
Okay. Now, you'd mentioned previously before we started filming that there will be a reenactment here next April. Could you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yes, sir. It's we're going to have a pretty large-scale recreation of events of 1865. On Friday is going to kind of be a reenactor-only type deal. Federals are going to march in from several miles away, and there's going to be skirmish actions depicting stuff that happened very early in the siege, and then when they get to their camp, it's kind of fast forward in their minds. Okay, now it's April 8th, 1865. The next day, on the Saturday the 9th, historically the 9th, we're going to do the assault, and then following that, we're going to have some prisoner of war type scenarios going on, and then Sunday it's basically wrapped up. But that's April 5th through the 7th of 19. Sorry.
So you've been undertaking efforts to restore this restore Fort Blakeley personally by hand. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and what drives your passion to restore that a little bit?
Back to me talking about being a kid coming out here. When I first started coming out here, there was some stuff that had been done, but in my mind, I had this vision of what a Civil War fort should look like, and it didn't look like that. And I remember telling my dad, I was like, this doesn't look right. I'm 12 years old, and he said, well, maybe one day you'll be able to change that. And it's blew my mind, because here I am shucking boards and throwing dirt, and making it look like what I thought it should look like. And now I have friends that have all the research, and a couple of very good friends actually that help me do this stuff. one in particular, a fellow named Roger Hanson. He was very, very old school, if you will, as far as coming to Blakeley and doing events. He was one of the first guys with his foot in the door here. And then he and I share the same passion for the engineering aspect of the Civil War. So our conversations are very entertaining because it's not what you would, a normal conversation is revetment and parapet and redan and redoubt, and it's just kind of crazy.
So it's safe to say that if you served in the military in the 1860s, you would have been a sapper or an engineer?
I think so. I think they would have spotted that I was handy with a shovel, and they would have pulled me out of the ranks, put me in the Pioneer Corps.
Sherman did like a shovel and an axe compared to a rifle as well.
Right. It's been said that Blakeley was taken more with the shovel and the spade than the rifle. They dug around the clock here on both sides. Because the federal side, you have 3 consecutive parallel lines. Well, in between, you have your sap trenches and your zigzags to connect. And what they would do is they would dig a line of rifle pits. They're rectangular. They almost look like coffins. They're not the crescent-shaped defensive rifle pits of the Confederates. So what they would do is they dig this line of pits. They would man them the following day, and then that night they would dig a connecting trench in between, and there you have it. There's your parallel. And then they would zigzag, and they would do another line of pits, and they would connect that line. There's evidence out in front of the 15th Mass and in front of the 37th Illinois Infantry that they were going to do a 4th parallel, because there's sections of zigzag coming off of that 3rd parallel line. Well, on the 9th they assaulted. They didn't have time to dig it. They didn't need it. So, and at that point, they're 600 yards out. They're already close enough.
So what are some of the efforts that you've gone through here? You've built some walls. You've clearly moved some dirt. There, it's very evident the hard work you're putting into this. What are some of your future plans, and is there a way that people could either financially support you or actually show up and volunteer for a work day?
Sure. I've got a couple of work days kicking around some ideas as far as the timing of stuff, because I want to get a few key players involved before I kind of invite everybody, because it's important to have these people involved. As far as financially, it will probably be best to either contact myself. I'm available on Facebook, email, and I can get you that information after we're done. Or you can contact my boss, Mike Bunn. He's the director of operations here, and he would certainly know how to funnel funds. He's on board with what we're doing here. He knows what's going on, and he's equally as excited as I am about it. The only difference is he doesn't have time to come out of the office and do stuff. He would love to, I'm sure, but he just can't. You mentioned the movement of the dirt, and I want to put this out. All the fortifications of Blakeley are original. They might be shorter than they were back then because of erosion and 150 some odd years of decay, but they're all original. People come in here and they're like, "Oh, how are you able to dig on the original stuff?" Well, I'm not altering anything. I'm adding dirt on top. I'm not taking anything from the bottom. You see, disturbing archaeological sensitive ground. That's not what I'm doing at all. I'm adding dirt on top. So we kind of view it as you're encapsulating the historical stuff, and you're saving it at the same time. And Redoubt 4 is an excellent living history display that nobody in the country has this. You can go to some other sites, and it's made out of concrete. Well, this is the real deal. It's not concrete. So it's like a living, breathing thing here. You have walls to shift. You have organic material to manage. It's a ongoing project here. If that answers your question on that.
It does. Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir.
And let's hope we can get some folks to come out here, help out, or pitch in any way they can. Thank you.
Absolutely. Love to have them.